Andrew Mountbatten Windsor reportedly faced arrest in the early morning hours of February 2026, marking a significant development following a lifetime characterized by a perceived sense of immunity. This event, which occurred on his 66th birthday while he was staying at Wood Farm, represented a profound shift in his public standing. The former royal was reportedly taken in custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office, a charge that challenges the very foundation of his past roles. Investigators are said to be focusing on allegations that he leveraged his previous position as a trade envoy, convey sensitive information and associate Jeffrey Epstein. This legal challenge represents what many observers consider the ultimate unraveling of an image of untouchability he had meticulously cultivated over several decades. For an individual who reportedly demanded exacting precision, even concerning the arrangement of personal items, the prospect of an 11-hour police interrogation is believed to have served as a stark reintroduction reality. Sources close to the situation indicate that this arrest succeeded a substantial leak of documents. These files purportedly revealed a network of communications far more extensive than what had been previously acknowledged by Mr. Mountbatten Windsor himself. This unfolding legal drama contrasts sharply with the reported activities of Sarah Ferguson, the mother of his children, who has seemingly withdrawn from public scrutiny. Reports indicate that Ms. Ferguson has sought seclusion within a 700-a-night chalet at the Mayerlife Medical Health Resort in Altaussee, Austria. This location is undecidedly chosen for its promise of comprehensive privacy and an environment conducive personal dexification. The stark divergence in their current circumstances is notable, with Mr. Mountbatten Windsor reportedly residing in a 5-bedroom step-down home at Marsh Farm. His new residence is described as being under stringent security measures, including extensive CCTV surveillance, a 2-meter perimeter fence and a restricted airspace zone above the property. In contrast, Miss Ferguson is said to be ensconced amidst the tranquil mountain mist of the Austrian Alps. Once a unified front, sharing both a residence and a public profile, they are now reportedly navigating distinct forms of personal exile. Even within the royal family, a discernible shift in support is reported. While some siblings have reportedly conducted welfare checks, it is understood that the newer generation of leadership within the institution is keen to address and rectify any perceived issues swiftly. This current juncture compels a re-evaluation of past events, moving beyond a single incident, consider a broader pattern of behaviour. An event from 2015, specifically a professional lunch at the Royal Lodge, is now viewed by some as a pivotal moment, offering a rare glimpse in a dynamic that predated the current legal entanglements. An American media executive, attending what was anticipated to be a formal encounter, reportedly witnessed a moment of public humiliation that created a palpable tension in the room. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor did not extend a customary handshake or offer a polite greeting upon entry. Instead, he is reported to have directed a cutting remark towards Sarah Ferguson, the woman who had publicly defended him for many years. His alleged words, "What are you doing with this fat cow?" were described by the witness as deeply cruel and left the room in stunned silence. This incident is now frequently cited as revealing a more complex and perhaps darker aspect of the individual behind the royal titles, suggesting it was not an isolated lapse, but rather an indication of a long-standing behavioral pattern. The executive who witnessed this exchange reportedly left with an altered perception of Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, a view that is believed to be beyond the scope of public relations management. The incident was not a private dispute that later became public knowledge. It was reportedly an intentional act of humiliation, staged before an external guest. This moment, according to some interpretations, indicated a personality characterized by a pronounced lack of empathy. To fully comprehend the gravity of that remark, it is important to consider Ms. Ferguson's personal struggles at the time. For many years prior, reports suggest she had been engaged in a deeply personal battle concerning her self-image. She had even appeared on international television articulate how food had become a form of emotional protection for her, a coping mechanism against the intense scrutiny of public life. It is claimed that Mr. Mountbatten Windsor was acutely aware of these vulnerabilities and allegedly chose to exploit them directly. Rumours circulating suggest that this public insult was not merely an isolated outburst of temper. Instead, it is believed to have offered a window in a more pervasive and concerning aspect of his character. Miss Ferguson had consistently served as his most steadfast defender, allegedly shielding him from critics even when it negatively impacted her own public standing. Yet, in a setting intended for professional engagement, that loyalty was reportedly met with language designed to undermine her. This pattern of behavior, particularly how he allegedly treated those he considered subordinate, extended beyond familial interactions. It raised questions about how he might interact with those employed, serve him, if such an exchange could occur with his former wife. The most perplexing aspect for many observers was Miss Ferguson's continued presence in his life despite such public dismissals. For most individuals, a public comment of that nature would signify an irreparable breach. However, for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson, it was reportedly just another episode within their unusual living arrangement. They were widely known as a former couple residing under the same roof at Royal Lodge, decades after their official divorce. This cohabitation has prompted questions among neighbours and even close acquaintances regarding the true nature of their relationship behind the estate's fortified doors. Insiders suggest that the dynamic between them transcended a simple friendship, leaning instead towards a complex, high-stakes codependency. While the world often perceived them as a united front against media intrusion, rumours indicate a more intricate power imbalance at play. Some believe that Ms. Ferguson's unwavering loyalty stemmed not solely from affection, but also from a calculated necessity for protection. She was perceived by some as the shield, with him being the one who wielded it, raising questions about the personal cost of such a role. Reports suggest that the fat cow remark offered insight in a daily reality where one partner held a disproportionate amount of influence. According to various sources, the atmosphere within Royal Lodge could transition rapidly from convivial tense. Miss Ferguson reportedly often found herself exercising extreme caution, navigating a complex emotional landscape that could be triggered by seemingly minor occurrences. Despite these reported challenges, she remained his most vocal advocate, even when public opinion largely turned against him. This consistent advocacy raises a pertinent question: why would an individual endure such public and private denigration? Some speculate it was linked to the status afforded by their shared address. Others contend she genuinely believed she was the sole person capable of guiding him away from potential self-destruction. However, as time progressed, it reportedly became increasingly difficult to interpret their arrangement as merely an unconventional friendship. It was, according to these accounts, a partnership where one individual reportedly absorbed the majority of the negative impacts, while the other seemingly became increasingly convinced of his own invulnerability. This pervasive sense of being beyond reproach was not confined to his personal relationships. It reportedly permeated every interaction, particularly with those who lacked the authority to challenge him. The accounts from those who worked under his roof are said to be even more disquieting than how he allegedly addressed the mother of his children. Further insight in Mr. Mountbatten Windsor's temperament reportedly comes from former employees, who describe an extraordinary obsession with order that dictated his daily existence. His disposition was said to be governed by a highly specific and eccentric fixation. According to these former staff members, he maintained a collection of precisely 72 teddy bears on his bed. The slightest displacement of even one bear, by as little as an inch, was reportedly met with an explosive reaction. This was not merely a peculiar hobby, it functioned as a measure of his perceived control over his environment. Insiders state that he provided housekeeping staff with a laminated photograph, meticulously detailing the precise position for each bear. If a maid inadvertently moved a bear while changing the linens and failed to rear it its exact coordinate, he reportedly would erupt in a shouting match audible throughout the residence. This behavior, according to former staff, reveals a level of entitlement far exceeding simple eccentricity. The intense reaction over seemingly trivial items like whys is believed to stem from a deeper conviction that the world should conform his every desire. Reports suggest he treated his staff less as professional employees and more as subjects from a bygone era. One former guard reportedly claimed that any perceived deviation, such as an incorrect door opening or an improperly handled request, would result in a verbal reprimand severe enough to intimidate experienced individuals. This consistent pattern of conduct when combined with the alleged verbal insults directed at his family and the rigid expectations placed upon his employees, paints a clear picture of his character. It is widely believed that he regarded everyone around him, from his former spouse the individuals cleaning his floors, as existing solely cater his ego. What is particularly unsettling is that this behavior was reportedly not a secret. It was an open secret within the palace for decades. He allegedly navigated life with an unwavering conviction that he was untouchable, safeguarded by a status that precluded the necessity of offering apologies. However, such a high degree of arrogance often creates a dangerous blind spot, which, in his case, reportedly led him believe he could disregard the rules applicable to others, particularly regarding his extravagant lifestyle and chosen associates. For many years, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor reportedly led a life that resembled a cinematic fantasy rather than a public service role. He purportedly expected the public purse fund every aspect of this existence. He acquired the moniker Air Miles Andy for a discernible reason. While the general populace managed their finances and opted for economy travel, reports suggest he utilized luxury private jets as if they were personal transportation. He reportedly undertook flights spanning hundreds of miles for what some considered trivial purposes, such as a lunch engagement or a round of golf, all while reportedly believing his status rendered him immune criticism. This pattern extended beyond travel. It reflected a fundamental belief that the regulations governing ordinary citizens did not apply him. According to various sources, his demands for five-star treatment were unceasing. This included specific thread counts for hotel bed linens or the exact room temperature prior his arrival, with expectations consistently set at an exceptionally high level. Rumors indicate that he interpreted any attempt to curtail his expenditures as a personal affront to his rank and position. However, as the financial costs escalated, so did the scrutiny and questions surrounding his lifestyle. Without a clear traditional income stream, the maintenance of a fleet of luxury automobiles and a multi-million-pound lifestyle raised concerns. This protective shield of rank is believed to have fostered a perilous sense of invincibility. He was not merely living lavishly. He was reportedly operating within a self-contained environment where adverse consequences were perceived as something that only affected others. Insiders suggest this arrogance prevented him from recognizing the evolving global landscape. While the public faced economic constraints, he was reportedly advocating for increased security, additional staff, and greater prestige. He appeared to believe that his name alone provided an perpetual exemption from any financial or social misstep. Nevertheless, that protective bubble was reportedly on the verge of being breached by issues far more serious than mere travel expenditure scandals. The same ingrained sense of being above the common strictures is precisely what reportedly led him in associations with individuals that the wider world recognized as problematic. When these connections eventually came public light, the shield of rank that he had spent a lifetime constructing did not merely develop fissures, it reportedly shattered completely. The ultimate cost of such pervasive arrogance is often a complete loss of control, a moment that reportedly arrived for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in February 2026. While the world was still digesting the latest disclosures from unredacted files, reports suggest the former royal experienced a shock that his status could not avert. His arrest on his 66th birthday while staying at Wood Farm on suspicion of misconduct in public office marked not just a legal challenge, but the definitive collapse of the untouchable image he had cultivated for decades. For a man who allegedly expected staff arranged teddy bears with military precision, the reality of an 11-hour police interrogation was a profound and sobering experience. Insiders confirmed the arrest followed a substantial document leak that purportedly revealed a web of communications far more extensive than he had ever publicly acknowledged. This stark transformation in circumstances is further highlighted by Sarah Ferguson's reported retreat. She is said to have effectively disappeared from the public sphere, seeking refuge in a high-end chalet in Altaussee, Austria, a location known for its discretion and decks facilities. The dichotomy between their current situations is pronounced while he reportedly settles in a highly secured residence at Marsh Farm. She is reportedly sequestered amidst the remote mountain landscapes. They once formed a partnership that shared everything, including their home and public reputation. Now they are reportedly living distinct lives of exile. even within the royal family, support for him is said be waning. While some family members have performed welfare checks, it is understood that the new generation of leadership within the institution desires a swift and decisive resolution of the ongoing issues. The central question now extends beyond a singular lunch encounter in 2015 or the specifics of a past insult. It concerns whether this former couple can navigate the profound consequences stemming from a lifetime of controversial decisions. As the investigation progresses in its most critical phases, public scrutiny remains intense. The 2015 incident at Royal Lodge, with its alleged six-word insult, is increasingly viewed by some as either the precursor to his eventual downfall, or merely a symptom of a trajectory long established. The most striking aspect is not solely the alleged insult or the meticulous arrangement of teddy bears, it is the comprehensive and definitive fracturing of what was once perceived as an inviolable royal shield. For decades, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor reportedly moved through life with an unwavering sense of impunity. He allegedly treated everyone, from his family to his household staff, as secondary figures within his own self-defined narrative. However, as of April, that narrative appears have reached a quiet, conclusive end. As he resides behind the fortified perimeters of Marsh Farm, confronting a new reality where he is no longer addressed as Your Royal Highness, but is instead a man under active police investigation, the contrast with his former life is stark. The same arrogance that reportedly allowed him publicly humiliate Sarah Ferguson in 2015 is believed by insiders be the very trait that led him assume his connections, certain controversial figures, would never be fully exposed. Today, his challenge extends beyond merely preserving his public image. He is reportedly engaged in a historic legal battle that could fundamentally alter the future of the British monarchy.